All right, guys, we are in the tack room, and that can only mean one thing. Look what it means. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, I'm going to move the lamp just for a second because you have got to see this pile of cuteness. These are all Cochin chickens, Bantam Cochin, so they're little bitty things. And then one Magpie duckling. So the chicks have all hatched out pretty early, and we've got a nice assortment, so I'm happy about that. These are for me, by the way. The chicks are for me. They are early, and we have a precocious little duckling who is early. So it's Sunday morning as of this recording, and they're supposed to hatch Sunday night. In the incubator still, working on it, are 3 more ducklings looking good. They should hatch, over the course of today. I'll check them this afternoon when I come down for Ladybug's bottle. And one of our 2 turkey eggs. So we'll have a solo turkey, which is not the best, but they'll be raised with the chicks, which absolutely is critical anyway. So not all that upset. Plus, again, that turkey was hopefully for my flock, unless it turns out to be a tom, in which case, well, I don't know what we're going to do because I'm a little overrun with toms at the moment. That changes year to year. Right now, I'm a little heavy on the toms and could reduce a little bit. So if we have a single turkey that turns out to be a tom, that's a bummer. At any rate, these guys are quite literally within the last, I'm going to call it 5 to 6 hours old, because last night they were not hatched. We had a couple of pips, and I had one chicken who looked like it was pretty much done, but nobody else was out. And then I walked in this morning to just hearing all these little peeps and peeps, and I knew that I had an incubator full of fun. And chicks are just the funnest ever. They grow so fast, though. So from a husbandry perspective, everybody moves from my incubator, which is over here, to the tack room tub for a few days. That allows me to keep the light nice and close. The tack room is a little bit more climate controlled because it's in an enclosed space. After about 3 to 4 days, max a week, depending on what I got going on, they move from here out into the barn, into our barn brooder. Now, that means they're exposed to the environmental temperatures and weather, and of course, right now, it's freezing, but next week it's supposed to get warmer. But they have a double heat lamp, and the point of doing that is for a couple of reasons, right? We move them to outdoor ambient temperature, exposure to that temperature, so that they start to acclimate to it. They have plenty of heat, right? So it's no different than this environment in terms of what they have access to. You can see they're all still a little chilly. They're still staying pretty piled up together, which is just, I'm exhausted. I just hatched, and I don't have the energy yet to keep myself warm. So we're going to stay in a big pile here right under the heat lamp. But once they start really motoring around this place and not huddled under the heat lamp like they are right now, moving them to the outside. And by the outside, I don't mean out into the full environment. Let's take a quick walk. Hi, Bailey. Hi, Hugo. Hi, Tonka. I mean out to, let's turn on a light here. This brooder here, which is in my grooming area. As you can see, it's still a small area. It's a little larger than the tub. It's an open air, so better ventilation. They have a heat lamp that we can raise and lower as necessary. And while they're protected from any wind or draft, so the angle that we have it has it so that it's kind of protected on all sides from any wind. So that door is open, but any wind coming through that isn't going to angle toward them. It's coming straight through toward where I am standing. So they're protected from drafts, but it gets them one step closer to acclimating to the outdoors. Then once they graduate from here, and that's when they start to have feathers, when they have most of their feathers we move them to our grow out pen. And our grow out pen, which, as if you've been following along since winter, needs to be fixed because it has collapsed on us under all the heavy snow that we got. Of course, that's how it's intended, how it's designed. We just need to get everything put back up. But they will move into here where they have several different enclosures that they can choose to use. Our little house from Tractor Supply. These are all just baby steps, right? So, they're temporary housing. These are not permanent coops. They would never survive as permanent coops, but they're cute for baby housing. And then, of course, we have our own kind of handmade farm recycled one. Once they move out here, they do not have supplemental heat. But again, think about the timing, right? So right now it's Memorial Day weekend, so it's toward the end of May. By the time these guys move outside, we're going to be toward the end of June, if not, July 4th. So outdoor temperatures in New Jersey are going to be 80, 90. We may have one day or night that drops into the 70s. But by that point, these guys are fully feathered. They may not be ready to be outside in the big world. It's pouring rain and really windy. So if you're hearing ambient noise, that's what it is, other than Ladybug calling for her bottle. But they get to experience the outdoors in a safe environment here. They're double protected from predators, so they're behind our pasture fences, and they're completely fenced in. Plus, they have a cover over top, which we don't do for our big birds. So they're fully protected from any predation. They have the ability to learn to be birds, right? They can peck at the bugs. There's always, bugs that fly through. There's spiders. I've showed you all of this last summer, and we'll do it again, of course. But that's why we sort of step stage them through. Now, each bird moves at a different pace. The ducks, although these ducks aren't staying, but the ducks move at a significantly faster pace than the chickens, and the chickens move at a significantly faster pace than the turkey. So, see, they're starting to spread out a bit now. That warmth is hitting them. They're realizing they're okay. Their new environment isn't quite as scary. We do offer them food and water even at this point, although it's not necessary, and I'll go into that in a second too. So ducks will go from indoor tub here to outdoor in less than a week. And outdoor meaning the brooder in the barn. Then they will move from the brooder in the barn. Sorry, that's the egg turner on the incubator. That's what the beeping is. It'll stop in a second. Apologies for that. Bad timing, of course. There we go. It's done. So once they move to the outdoor brooder, ducks will last maybe another 2, maybe 2.5 weeks in the outdoor brooder. One, they're going to get too big. They're going to start bumping their heads on the light and things. And 2 is they really are they grow that quickly that they need to move to the regular outdoors, right? So they move much faster. Like within 3 to 4 weeks, they are fully outdoor off of heat. Chickens move a little bit slower, and they're smaller too, right? So I could keep them in this tub for 2 weeks and not have an issue. I never do that. So within a week, they move. Then they're out in the brooder, and they could stay in that brooder for another 3 to 4 weeks. And I have a nice crowd here, so it'd probably be closer to 3 weeks just because they have, they'll get crowded in that brooder. They won't be fully grown. They won't be 100% fully feathered, but they'll have most of their primary feathers at that point. And so they're like a week to 2 weeks behind the speed of the ducks. And then the turkey. The turkey will grow fast, but they feather very slowly, and they don't acclimate and learn the environment as quickly, right? So if I were to put them out there at 4 weeks with everybody else, they would not have all their feathers, and they would not have the ability to maintain temperature like the rest of them do. So the turkey will stay in the brooder, even though they look huge, and it's really goofy if you go back through some of last year's videos, when they get to that size, they look really ridiculous being in the baby brooder. But they'll stay in there for like almost 6 weeks, and then I'll move them out. And in this case, since I have a single turkey, what that means is some of the chicks will stay behind to be his buddy, and we'll just sort of thin the herd of chicks to give them space and give them room. Like I said, these ducklings are already destined to a new family, so that's exciting. I hear the one that was partially hatched peeping in the incubator, so that's also exciting. I love when they're hatching. And like I said, we'll check that, and the hope would be that by tonight, maybe a few more chicks, although I think we're done with chicks. I think this is it for the crop, and it's a nice crop. We've certainly got plenty of black. I always get a few black. We've got a few what are called self blue or lavender. They're the ones that look gray. I have a white one, which is always nice. I like the white ones. Some of the chipmunk looking ones, the ones with stripes, will turn into buffs. We've got what looks like maybe a red partridge. So we've got a really nice grouping here, a nice variety. And that's how I run my Cochin flock. They are a mixed flock of colors, so it's sort of a variety pack whenever you get hatching eggs from me. And it was a pretty successful hatch, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I have now blabbered on. Ladybug needs her bottle, and these guys need some food and water. So I mentioned I was going to talk about that. I'll have to talk about it in another video because this has gotten way too long. So we'll talk about food and water after hatch at the next video. Remind me in the comments, I might forget. But until next time, let's zoom in. I got work to do. Bye, baby birds. Bye.